Monica Long just dropped a fresh interview and she's getting real about crypto regulation. She's talking about how this stuff is literally going to turbocharge the way financial institutions handle their whole digital transformation journey. And guess what? The CEO over at Uphold is singing from the same hymn sheet. Their whole vibe, multi-chain world all the way. Now here's where it gets spicy. Chad Steingraber just came out with some intel, and he's not holding back. According to him, XRP has basically got the industry in a checkmate position right now. We need to unpack what that actually means because it's huge. Oh, and I've loaded up on a mountain of other XRP and crypto goodies to share with you. All right, let's get stuck in and listen to this one.
Would the U.S. Trump administration's pro-crypto stance, the Genius Act, have anything to do with kind of, boosting the appeal as well for RLUSD?
I think stablecoins and actually the digital asset industry at large have had a breakthrough year with institutional adoption. And I think that regulatory clarity coming out of the U.S. with that, first the Genius Act, now we have the Clarity Act, working its way through legislation. I think that was a pretty big pivot point. We could, for sure, we saw it within the U.S. market in terms of banks engaging with us on their digital asset strategies. But kind of to my pleasant surprise, I've noticed a pretty big momentum shift outside of the U.S. as well. Being here this week in Singapore for the FinTech Festival, we've had a number of meetings with banks all throughout the Southeast Asia region, and everyone's really leaning in.
The entire world is basically going all in on crypto right now. What's unfolding is this massive global competition. You've got countries, you've got individual cities within those countries, and they're all battling it out to become the ultimate crypto capital of the planet. So what does that look like? They're dangling juicy tax incentives, rolling out business-friendly regulations, basically doing whatever it takes to attract the money, the brains, and the builders who are going to shape where this technology goes next. Here's the deal. Nobody's debating whether blockchain is the future of finance anymore. The real battle now, who's going to dominate? Who's walking away with the lion's share? That trophy is still up for grabs. Now let's talk about regulation for a second, because this keeps popping up everywhere. Banks are sitting on the sidelines going, just tell us the rules of the game. They need black and white answers on what's allowed and what's off limits in this space. No clear rule book? They're staying far away from it. And that's the whole reason we're stuck here debating if XRP should be valued at 250 or 240. We haven't hit that sweet spot yet where the tech is actually doing what it was built to do, That breakthrough moment hasn't arrived. Is it coming soon? When exactly? Look, nobody can honestly give you a timeline on that one. Everything hinges on this Clarity Act passing, which requires Congress to actually collaborate and get something done. And based on what we've witnessed lately, these politicians can barely be in the same zip code without drama. So when will they finally grow up and prioritize what Americans actually need? Beats me, honestly. I wish I had that answer for you. All right, now peep this from Uphold. We believe in a multi-chain world. Uphold CEO Simon McLaughlin on why banks are turning to infrastructure providers like Uphold to connect across blockchains without the heavy lifting. This is where things get interesting. Take a listen.
We believe in a multi-chain world.
Okay.
It's not like there's going to be one chain that's going to be most successful. We see a world in which there are going to be hundreds of different blockchains, each one suited to a different use case. And so, for a bank, the natural thing to do is to plug into an infrastructure provider like Uphold, because we keep up to date on all the chains.
So you could offer any of the chains?
Yeah. So we offer today, we've got 43 different blockchains, 9 stable coins running on 24 different networks. And what a bank needs to do is to plug into an infrastructure provider that provides composability in terms of linkage to different chains, because fundamentally, a bank needs to just sit on a network of blockchains so they can get money to wallet addresses on virtually any network. The idea of integrating those networks in-house, it doesn't work. It takes typically 2 or 3 months to integrate a blockchain. They all are written in different languages, they have different configurations. It's a very complex exercise. So what we're finding is banks come to us so that we do the infrastructure heavy lifting. They can concentrate on sexy products for their customers.
To watch more of this episode and get access to more exclusive content, visit americanbanker.com/leaders.
So here's the genius move happening right here. You need to wrap your head around what companies like Uphold, Coinbase, and these other exchanges are really positioning themselves to be. They want to become the go-to providers for everyone in the space. Their whole pitch is, come use our tech, pay us for access to our infrastructure, and we'll handle the messy stuff. Because let's be real, crypto and blockchain is insanely complicated. A traditional bank isn't about to go out and replicate what Uphold has already spent years building from scratch. That would be a nightmare, right? Think about it this way. If integrating just one blockchain takes somewhere between 2 and 3 months of work, now multiply that by 30 blockchains or 100 blockchains. You see where I'm going with this? Banks look at that timeline and go, yeah, no thanks. They stick to what they're actually good at, banking. So what's the logical move? They partner up with the Upholds, the Ripples, the Coinbases of the world, because that's the path of least resistance. Plus, there's another huge advantage here. When something breaks or goes sideways with the infrastructure, guess whose problem it is? Not the banks. It falls squarely on whoever's providing that infrastructure, right? This whole setup basically strips away a massive chunk of risk from the bank's plate. So yeah, I genuinely think Uphold is playing chess here while others are playing checkers. They're positioning themselves perfectly for this multi-chain future that's coming. We totally see where they're coming from on this one. They've got their sights set on becoming a heavyweight in this space. And you know what? I've got to give them credit for that move. All right, so get ready for this. There's this guy, Chad Steingraber, who basically just laid out the ultimate no-lose scenario. He says, let's be real for a moment. There are 2 options. 1, XRP price stays the same as today and the ETFs take the entire circulating supply in exactly 1 year. Or the XRP price goes up dramatically and the acquisition of XRP goes down because it takes more money to buy less. Either way, we win. Checkmate. Now here's the thing. His whole point is that we're sitting pretty regardless of which direction this thing moves. And can I be totally honest with you? Part of me is actually hoping we stay in this zone a little longer. Wild, right? But hear me out. Cheaper prices mean my dollar stretches way further. Picture this scenario. XRP jumps to $10 or even $20. Suddenly, you're looking at dropping 10 grand just to pick up a measly 1,000 coins. Maybe $20,000 if it really takes off. But at current levels, that same 10 grand gets me somewhere in the ballpark of 4,000 to 5,000 XRP, depending on the day. So can I just say something controversial here? Do we really need to moonshot immediately? Yeah, I know the whole community is champing at the bit for liftoff, but is it crazy that I want a little more accumulation time? Just saying. Anyway, after reading Chad's take, I figured I'd get Lexi's perspective to unpack this whole thing. So here's what the breakdown says. The post presents a simplified logic about the impact of ETFs' demand on XRP price and supply. The argument proposes 2 outcomes. Option 1, if the price of XRP remains the same as today, ETF buying pressure could be strong enough to acquire the entire circulating supply within 1 year. Now let's pump the brakes for a second. We already know the reality here. There's only a handful of billion XRP actually sitting on exchanges right now that these ETFs can even get their hands on. And then it goes on. This scenario assumes constant demand by ETFs and no significant change in supply price for 12 months, which, come on, we all know that's not how this works in the real world. If demand goes through the roof, the price has to climb with it, right? It's just basic economics at that point. Why? Because when you start draining that available supply off the exchanges, boom, you're looking at a much bigger market cap multiplier kicking in. And this is exactly where things get interesting with human psychology. You'll have folks sitting there going, okay, XRP hits $10, maybe that's my exit point, let me take some profits. Then another group waits and thinks, $20, that's my number, I'll unload some there. Everyone's got their own game plan, their own threshold. You know what I mean? You might be the type who's like, bring on the $500, bring on the $1,000. I'm strapped in for this ride. That's your comfort zone with risk. But check it out. Plenty of people out there aren't playing the same game as you. You've got traders staring at their screens saying, hold up, $10 is actually looking real nice right now. Think about it. They scooped this up at 30 cents and now $10 is staring them in the face. That's a 30x multiplier, baby. Time to ring the register and call it a win. Different strokes for different folks, right? Everyone's got their own exit strategy carved out. So when it comes to predicting how this whole saga is going to unfold, yeah, I'm not going to pretend I've got a crystal ball. Your prediction's going to be just as solid as mine on this one. The implication is such a buying pressure would eventually exhaust available XRP, creating a supply shock unless new sellers emerge or supply changes. And then option 2, price rises, slow acquisition pace. The ETF demand drives up the price dramatically. It becomes more expensive to buy the same amount of XRP. As XRP becomes pricier, ETFs can acquire less with the same capital, slowing the rate at which circulating supply is absorbed. This outcome benefits existing holders through potential price appreciation. And the check market, the checkmate, is explained. The statement, either way we win, assumes that both scenarios, full supply absorption or significant price appreciation, result in favorable outcome for XRP holders. That post right there, yeah, that was genuinely entertaining. Went ahead and flagged it for you. If you're vibing with this content, smash that follow button, drop something in the chat whenever you want. And hey, while we're at it, Riz XRP deserves some attention too. That account's delivering solid stuff. All right, moving on to Ripple's unmatched position in crypto. This gem comes courtesy of Digital Perspective. That's Brad's channel, by the way. When Brad talks, I actually listen. His takes carry some serious credibility with me. Take a listen to this.
Ripple's Interledger Protocol, the ILP, and the patents cement its unmatched position in crypto, but not just crypto, but in the financial infrastructure that also involves crypto. And if we go into Smoke Dog's post here, this is where I believe the game gets really interesting long term, because you know that ILP gives the ability for the network to talk to any particular protocol, whether it is a legacy protocol or whether it's a distributed ledger or blockchain protocol. That's the flexibility about this. And it goes through here and explains as an example, not only can it talk to crypto networks, right, but with the help and transaction and verification process of RippleNet, the most interesting aspects regarding the ILP is that we will seamlessly manage payments when the sender's currency is different from the receiver's currency, or when the sender's payment network is different from the receiver's payment network. You can see how quickly this gets really messy, but they've got it all figured out with RippleNet, the ILP, and the ledger, right? You take an example of a payment issued on fiat currency network using MasterCard, Visa, or wire transfer, and the receiver receives it on an account, also known as a wallet, created within the payment system using a cryptocurrency. Remember, Ripple just bought Palisade to give everybody a wallet, too. The Interledger Protocol, ILP, offers a means to bridge the cryptocurrencies and fiat to enable interoperable and fast value exchange. They rely on plug-in for settlement over a digital asset ledger like XRP or Bitcoin, as they cite there. But you can go on and see that banks and other financial institutions can now carry out international transactions more quickly and affordable thanks to Ripple's XRP patented RippleNet. By securing a patent for its technology, Ripple guarantees a sole authority over its inventive payment system, prohibiting rivals from unauthorized use of comparable blockchains. Now, that is something that a financial system would look at and go, yeah, that I'll use, right? That's something I'll use. And
pause for a second. You see how I zoomed way in there? That's because the text was practically microscopic at normal view. I know some of you are the type who wants to eyeball this stuff directly rather than taking my word for it. Just doing my part to save your eyesight. Now here's where it gets interesting. Breaking GDLC makes history. Grayscale CoinDesk Crypto 5 ETF. Now the first diversified crypto product in the US. We've already seen what happens with these individual spot products. They get traction, some absolutely dominate, while others just kind of exist. But here's my prediction. These basket offerings, that's where the serious capital is going to park itself. What we're looking at is a 4-coin combo. Bitcoin, XRP, Solana, and ADA all wrapped up in one package. Let me break down what's actually happening behind the scenes here with some background info. Take a listen.
Today we are highlighting GDLC, the Grayscale CoinDesk Crypto 5 ETF. This is the first diversified crypto product in the United States. It features Bitcoin, ETH, XRP, Sol, and ADA. Talk to me about what this moment means for you and Grayscale's journey.
Yeah, very exciting. Grayscale has been in this business now for 12 years. We have the highest longevity in the asset class. And in every year we innovated, we launched the first to market. GDLC is once again us innovating and being first to market with the first product that in one click, investors can get access to 90% of the digital asset class.
You know, I was at Ripple Swell earlier this week talking to Brad Garlinghouse, and he said, wouldn't it be great if there was an ETF that had a basket of assets for investors? And here we are a few days later talking about GDLC. Talk to me about what this means for the industry.
It is a real milestone. I think the industry is now more and more is evolving towards how traditional finance works. So for investors that want a tactical exposure to XRP or Solana or Bitcoin, we have a product. We meet them where they are. But more and more investors are telling us they want a core exposure to digital assets. They can set and forget, and in one click, they get everything they need, and that's GDLC.
The entire portfolio lands in their lap. No fuss, no multiple transactions, just done. And look, we're all in this holding pattern together, aren't we? Calendar says the 16th today, which puts us what? 6 days out from the 22nd? That's next week already. The Swift migration deadline is literally around the corner now. Let me cue this thing up for you. Take a listen.
For me, my final message is that ISO 20022 and the migration and the end date for November 2025 is critical. It's critical for domestic and cross-border interoperability, and really will support all of the community to deliver more rich and structured data and really optimize our cross-border payments processing.
Here's why financial institutions should be paying attention to this. Everyone's moving to the same messaging protocol, and that's basically rocket fuel for Ripple. What we're witnessing is the whole banking infrastructure getting a massive facelift to accommodate technology that Ripple's already standing on. You follow? ISO 20022 messaging standard. The forward-thinking companies like Ripple that design their systems for what's coming instead of what was, they're positioned to win big from this transition. Oh, and any bank that misses the 2026 cutoff isn't just getting a warning letter. We're looking at financial penalties hitting their bottom line. Plus, complete system access revoked. So whether they like it or not, this shift is happening. All right, everyone, I'm going to call it here for today. Hope things are going great on your end. Thanks a ton for sticking around through this whole video. Found some value in what we covered? Smash that like, send it to someone who needs to see this. Throw your 2 cents in the comment area. Just genuinely appreciate you being part of this. I'll catch you on the next upload.